Good evening and welcome to News Tonight, where we get you all the major news and developments across India and the world. First, the top stories. Supreme Court directs CVC to complete probe into CBI case in 2 weeks. Also stops interim director Nageshwar Rao from taking any policy decisions. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley welcomes the court order. Congress stages multi-city protests. Government working towards making strong and seamless seed-to-market network for farmers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi insists on connecting agriculture to technology as he addresses the Krishi Kumbh in Lucknow via video conferencing. Father of Green Revolution, MS Swaminathan awarded the World Agricultural Award. In his address, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu says, need to effectively implement national agricultural export policy to double farmers' income. BJP and JDU to fight Lok Sabha polls together in Bihar, both parties to fight on equal number of seats, sharing agreement to be announced in 2 to 3 days. And Mahinda Rajapaksa sworn in as Prime Minister of Sri Lanka after President Maithripala Sirisena's party withdraws from the ruling coalition. The top story of the day, hearing petitions in the CBI case. The Supreme Court has given the CVC 2 weeks to complete its probe against Alok Verma. The Apex Court also directed Interim Director Nageshwar Rao not to take any policy decisions for now. The next hearing on the matter will take place on 12th November.
The Supreme Court on Friday ordered the Central Vigilance Commission to complete its investigation against CBI Chief Alok Verma within 2 weeks. The court was hearing a petition filed by Alok Verma challenging the central government's order to send him on leave. Verma was divested of his duties and sent on leave by the government earlier this week in an alleged corruption case. The probe will be conducted under the supervision of former Supreme Court Judge A.K. Patnaik.
सीबीआई डायरेक्टर आलोक वर्मा के खिलाफ जो सीवीसी ने इंक्वायरी करी है वो 2 हफ्ते के अंदर खत्म करी जाए और उसको सुपरवाइज एक रिटायर्ड जज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जस्टिस ए.के. पटनायक करेंगे। 2 हफ्ते के अंदर उसकी रिपोर्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट को पेश करनी है।
Calling the internal crisis of the Central Investigation Agency unprecedented, the Apex Court said it did not want the CBI issue to linger on as it is not in the interest of the country. The Supreme Court, in its order, also barred interim CBI Director Nageshwar Rao from taking any major decisions for the agency.
Maybe the order passed today is an appropriate order, keeping in view that these things cannot be allowed to drag on. And therefore the Chief Justice's bench has done well to pass an order so that this thing is put, behind you as early as possible.
Meanwhile, political parties have welcomed the Supreme Court's order. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said the Apex Court order was a positive development and the centre wants to maintain the integrity of the agency.
हमारा देश इस बात को अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता, ये कीमत नहीं दे सकता कि सबसे बड़े 2 अधिकारी उस एजेंसी के जो भ्रष्टाचार के खिलाफ जांच करती है वो खुद जांच के घेरे में आ जाए। इसलिए सच क्या है वो शीघ्र पता चलना चाहिए और निष्पक्ष तरीके से पता चलना चाहिए। ये सीवीसी की नीयत थी, ये सरकार की नीयत है और आज के सुप्रीम कोर्ट के आदेश के बाद ये प्रक्रिया और मजबूत अपने आप में हुई है।
Earlier in the day, Congress staged protest outside the CBI office led by party president Rahul Gandhi. Demanding reinstatement of Alok Verma, Rahul Gandhi quoted arrest and was detained at a Delhi police station for 30 minutes along with other party leaders.
इंस्टीट्यूशन को नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने नष्ट करने का काम किया है। सीबीआई हो, चाहे वो इलेक्शन कमीशन हो, चाहे वो विधानसभा हो, लोकसभा हो, हिंदुस्तान के हर इंस्टीट्यूशन पर नरेंद्र मोदी आक्रमण कर रहा है।
The court was hearing 2 petitions on Friday, one by Verma and another by NGO Common Cause, challenging the government order sending the former on forced leave. On Wednesday, Verma and the CBI Special Director Rakesh Asthana were sent on leave with immediate effect after they both levelled allegations of corruption and bribery against each other. The next date of hearing is slated for 12th of November. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 3-day International Agriculture Conference Krishi Kumbh 2018 in Lucknow via video conferencing on Friday. Addressing the event, the Prime Minister said his government is working to make a strong and seamless seed-to-market network. The event is aimed at generating awareness among farmers about the latest technologies and to showcase the business opportunities in agro-processing.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has batted for the use of advanced technologies in agriculture. Inaugurating the Krishi Kumbh 2018 organized in Lucknow via video conferencing, Prime Minister Modi appreciated the state for its efforts in augmenting the procurement of food grains. He asserted that farmers will get a better price for their crops this time as the government has raised the minimum support price of 21 Rabi and Kharif crops.
सरकार कृषि और किसान से जुड़ी समस्याओं पर टुकड़ों में काम करने की पुरानी सोच के बजाय अब पूरी समग्रता से काम कर रही है। हमारा ध्यान किसानों की छोटी-छोटी मुश्किलों को दूर करने पर है।
Addressing concerns over the rising level of air pollution in the national capital, the Prime Minister emphasized on the need to evolve new ways to help eliminate the problem of farmers burning crop stubble. Reiterating the government's commitment to double farmers' income by 2022, Prime Minister Modi said a series of steps have been taken to reduce farm input costs and raise profits. He added that a large number of solar pumps will soon be installed in farms across the country to reduce dependence on diesel and electricity. The move is set to benefit over 28 lakh farmers.
किसानों को एक तो मुफ्त बिजली मिलेगी, दूसरा जरूरत के अतिरिक्त जो बिजली पैदा होती है उसको वो बिजली वितरण कंपनियों को बेच भी पाएंगे। वो अन्नदाता भी है, अब ऊर्जादाता भी बन जाएगा।
Prime Minister Modi also called for discussions on the judicious use of water resources, better technology for storage and use of latest technology in farming. The 3-day-long Krishi Kumbh has Haryana and Jharkhand as partner states and Japan and Israel as partner countries. The Farmers' Conclave aims to promote modern technique and diversification in agriculture and the food processing industry. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And for more on the story, we're being joined on News Tonight by Mr. Ashok Dalvi, CEO, National Rain-Fed Area Authority. He's also the chairman of the Committee on Doubling a Farmer's Income. A very good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us on News Tonight. Sir, doubling farmers' income by the year 2022 is the most ambitious target that the government has set for itself. How do you think is the government's goal shaping up?
It is shaping up very well, and we are confident of achieving the target by 2022 because the government is concerned about the welfare of the farmers, and therefore the ministry itself has been redesignated as the Minister of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare.
Yes.
Which implies that now the emphasis shifts from chasing commodities as done so far to the welfare of the farmer, who is the human element in this whole game of agriculture. Now, as we all know, the farmers over the last 40-50 years, by their toil, supported by science and technology and government policies, have ensured that now the people of the country are food secure. Now it is the moral obligation of the country to ensure that the farmers are income secure. So this strategy for doubling farmers' income looks at agriculture in new format. It basically considers it as an enterprise. It looks at it as an agricultural value system, which means that the value system begins at the stage of research and development, goes on to the pre-production environment and the production environment, and followed by the post-production environment. So our approach is to ensure that every single stage of this long agricultural value system, the farmer is able to garner optimal value. And only when we can transfer optimal value to the farmer, then would he be able to garner better incomes and therefore his welfare improves. And that is the strategy. And one very important pillar of this entire strategy is to ensure that the farmers are able to manage the risks. Because agriculture is one of the riskiest of professions anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Because it is dependent on monsoons and it is dependent on fluctuating markets post the production. So as a part of risk management strategy, we have recommended several initiatives, and happily government has adopted several of them already over the last 2 years.
Sir, so one significant recommendation by the committee headed by you is a shift from supply-led farming to demand-led farming. But how will this radical shift be enforced on the ground in just a few years when the government has lost 2 crucial years?
I must say that you have made a very good observation. The fact that we have a tight time schedule of 6 years, beginning 2016-17 and ending in 2022, only symbolizes the sincerity and seriousness of the government about the farmers' welfare. Now, our committee had been advised by the government that as we work on a comprehensive and final report, we should be also making parallelly recommendations which could be adopted by the government. And I'm happy to share with you that since we began our work sometime in April 2016, we got down to the work immediately, and within the next 3 months, we started making several suggestions and recommendations. And over the last 2.5 years, our recommendations have been accepted and adopted by the government. In fact, the union budgets over the last 2 years have included a large number of recommendations, and they've all seen the action of the day. So and in fact, a large number of them relate to post-production. We also took the responsibility, for example, of preparing the model acts, model guidelines, executive instructions wherever required. Just to illustrate, we prepare a Model Agriculture Produce Marketing Act to encompass both crop sector and the livestock sector. We also brought out a Model Contract Farming and Services Act. Then we brought out guidelines on the Grameen, that is Grameen Retail Agriculture Market. The GRAM itself was our committee's recommendation. It was announced in the union budget, and thereafter we also prepared the guidelines and shared with states. These are just illustrations. There have been several such recommendations, and a bouquet of interventions have been made by Government of India.
So there's been a lot of stress on the use of new technologies in the agriculture sector, particularly by Prime Minister Modi and also several agri-scientists. But more than 80% of our farmers are marginal small farmers who do not have the wherewithal to understand technology. Now, this can be a major hindrance in the government's push for reforms, isn't it?
Now, while that may be so on the face of it, we must appreciate that the farmers also have got aspirational. There is an information revolution. The information and new knowledge is what is being demanded by the farmers. What government is doing is, considering that majority of the farms are small and marginal, we recognize that as one of the structural weaknesses, and we have started mobilizing them into farmer producers organizations.
All right.
We also started linking them with the markets through online trade. As far as technology is concerned, the extension machinery itself is being reoriented and sensitized that they should now look at not only production but also look at marketing and other technology practices. And the digital technology is one of the major interventions of the government. In fact, one of the pillars of the Digital India is to electronically transfer various services and technologies to the farmers. Towards that end, we are working on large number of mobile applications. We are working on large number of websites and web portals. We're also having a personalized service through Kisan call centers. So several ways are being deployed to reach out to the farmers.
Okay.
And I must be also happily share with you that the KVKs of the ICAR and the state agriculture universities have begun to play a very prominent role. Just to illustrate, we adopted a 5-year roadmap to improve the pulse production in the country because we were facing terrible shortage. And the KVKs and the state agriculture universities have played a very critical role in producing good quality seeds and distributing to the farmer.
Certainly.
And in 3 years, our production has jumped from 16.7 million tons per annum to 25 million tons by 2017-18.
So the government is making several efforts and the results are showing up. That's what Mr. Ashok Dalvi is pointing out. Thank you so much, sir, once again for joining us on News Tonight. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today presented the first World Agriculture Prize to renowned agricultural scientist Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Honoring Dr. Swaminathan for his pioneering work in the field of agriculture, the Vice President said Swaminathan ushered in the Green Revolution and laid a firm foundation for India's food security. The Vice President also said the agriculture sector needs a big push in India and in other parts of the world as well. He called for a concerted, coordinated action on a number of issues that impact the growth of agricultural sector and the quality of life of people who depend primarily on this sector. He also said that current challenge is to make it more profitable and ecologically sustainable. He added there is a need to rethink the development paradigm and also see how we can make agriculture more economically viable and attractive. He also called for steps to effectively implement the National Agricultural Export Policy formulated in line with the vision to double the farmers' income and increase the share of agricultural exports by the year 2022.
The agriculture has not been a vocation of choice, especially for the youth. Youth do not want to enter into agriculture. The number of people engaged in agriculture as a percent of total employment has been steadily going down all over the world. From 43% in 91, it is now mere 26% in 2017. India also, where nearly 64% of the total workforce was engaged in agriculture in 1991, it was down to 44% in 2017. We need to rethink the development paradigm and see how we can make agriculture more economically viable and attractive. That is the big challenge.
The BJP and its allies within the NDA have arrived at a seat-sharing agreement in Bihar. The decision was made after a meeting of BJP President Amit Shah and Bihar Chief Minister and JDU Chief Nitish Kumar in New Delhi. Amit Shah announced that the BJP and JDU will contest equal number of Lok Sabha seats in the state. He also gave an assurance that Ramvilas Paswan's LJP and Upendra Kushwaha's RLSP will be given a respectable number of seats to contest. He said the announcement on the number of seats contested by every party will be made in the next 2 to 3 days. BJP, JDU, LJP and RLSP are the NDA partners in Bihar, which has 40 Lok Sabha seats. Amit Shah has asserted that all allies are together and they will win more seats than they did in the 2014 general elections.
जदयू और भाजपा दोनों एक समान सीटों पर लड़ेंगे और बाकी साथियों के लिए भी सम्मानजनक जगह रखकर सीटों का बंटवारा फाइनल करेंगे। जहां तक सीटों के नंबर का सवाल है, 2-3 दिनों में हम नंबर को घोषित करेंगे और सभी साथियों से चर्चा में एक सुर उभर कर आया है कि 2019 के चुनाव में मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में फिर से एक बार केंद्र में प्रचंड बहुमत के साथ भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनेगी।
जेडीयू और भाजपा बराबर सीटों पर लड़ेगी और बाकी लोगों की सीटों की संख्या के बारे में अंतिम दौर में बातचीत चल रही है और इसके बाद जो निर्णय होगा, जैसा कि उन्होंने बताया, 2-3 दिनों के अंदर नंबर ऑफ सीट्स की घोषणा हो जाएगी और एक बार नंबर ऑफ सीट्स की घोषणा हो जाएगी तो कौन सीट किस पार्टी के उम्मीदवार लड़ेंगे, इसके बारे में आपस में बातचीत करके फैसला हो जाएगा। इन सब चीज़ों में ज़्यादा वक्त नहीं लगेगा।
Time for a short break, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. The 18 disqualified AIADMK legislators have decided to approach the Supreme Court against the Madras High Court order that upheld their disqualification. On Thursday, the Madras High Court upheld the disqualification by Tamil Nadu Assembly Speaker P. Dhanapal last year. The decision to appeal in the apex court was taken after a discussion between the disqualified legislators and sidelined AIADMK leader TTV Dinakaran in Madurai. One of the disqualified MLAs, T. Tamilisselvan, said the decision was unanimous and accepted with joy by all the 18 MLAs loyal to AIADMK founder Dinakaran. The MLAs were disqualified by the Tamil Nadu Assembly Speaker on 18 September last year after they went to meet the governor to express their loss of confidence in Chief Minister K. Palani Swami. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu has issued guidelines for study tours of parliamentary committees. As per the guidelines, parliamentary committees under Rajya Sabha will not be allowed more than 2 study tours in a year. The duration of a study tour cannot exceed 5 working days. The duration of all tours undertaken by a parliamentary committee in a year cannot exceed 10 days. According to the guidelines, committee meetings and discussions should take place in Delhi and not on tour. Parliamentary committees can tour any place for on-the-spot study. The guidelines also say that committees should refrain from holding meetings in hotels. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 2-day visit to Japan on 28th and 29th of October for the annual India-Japan summit with his Japanese counterpart Shinzo Abe. The focus of the summit will be to boost cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region, carry out joint infrastructure projects in third countries, and also to find ways to further enhance economic and defense ties.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold a summit meeting with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe in Tokyo on October 29th. In the annual India-Japan summit meet, both leaders are likely to discuss ways to enhance economic ties between the two countries, along with framing of a joint strategy for balance of power in the Asia-Pacific region. In a first, the armies of the two countries will participate in a joint military drill in Mizoram next month.
The Army, the Navy and the Air Force have Army-to-Army talks, Air Force-to-Air Force talks and so on. Our civilian side in the Ministry of Defence has these talks. We have regular exercises with all 3 services and the Coast Guard. The first Army exercise will actually be taking place while this summit is on, from the 29th of October onwards. That's the first time the armies will exercise. And of course, as you know, Japan is a partner for us in the Malabar exercise.
The summit meeting is expected to usher in a new era of bilateral cooperation between India and Japan. Both countries will also discuss undertaking infrastructure projects in countries in Asia and Africa in a trilateral framework, a move that is set to reduce dependence of developing economies on China.
Have a specific example in Sri Lanka where India, Japan and Sri Lanka are working together on an LNG terminal. This is already an ongoing project. So I would certainly say that the two leaders will discuss how we can collaborate in a similar fashion, perhaps in other countries in our neighborhood or in our near abroad. Let me broaden it, because we are now defining our neighborhood as a neighborhood defined by our oceans and not necessarily by land.
Key decisions on defense cooperation is also expected in the summit-level talks, particularly about Japanese-class submarine and the US-2 amphibious aircraft.
So discussion is ongoing. Last year it was said that, if I remember correctly, something like this possible purchase is symbolizing friendship between Japan and India, something like that. So it means that two governments, two leaders have interest in possible purchase of US-2. So discussion is now ongoing. I hope some progress will be made.
The two leaders are also expected to deliberate on regional security situation in the Korean Peninsula and terrorism, among other issues. Artificial intelligence, big data, development of unmanned ground vehicles and robotics will also feature in the talks. In a special gesture, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be hosted by his Japanese counterpart for a private dinner at his holiday home in Yamanashi on Mount Fuji on October 28th.
This will be 12th meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and they have developed fantastic convergence on issues of global importance as well as bilateral interest. And that is why Japan is now one of the major pillars of India's foreign policy. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Kamaljeet in Delhi.
In a dramatic political development, Mahinda Rajapaksa was sworn in as the Prime Minister by President Maithripala Sirisena after his party abruptly quit the ruling coalition in Sri Lanka. The sudden development came after Sirisena's broader political front, United People's Freedom Alliance, announced that it has decided to quit the current unity government with Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's United National Party. The unity government was formed in 2015 when Sirisena was elected president with Wickremesinghe's support, ending a nearly decade-long rule by Rajapaksa. And Google has sacked 48 people, including 13 senior managers, over sexual harassment claims since 2016. Google CEO Sundar Pichai sent an email to all Google employees on Thursday, saying the company has fired 48 people over the last 2 years for sexual harassment. Of the 48 people, 13 were senior managers and above, and none of them got an exit package when they were let go. The email was in response to a New York Times story that said Google had shielded a handful of company executives, including Android creator Andy Rubin, from sexual misconduct allegations and offered massive payouts to leave. However, Pichai said the tech giant was taking a hard line on inappropriate conduct. He said the New York Times story was difficult to read and that Google was dead serious about providing a safe and inclusive workplace. And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for your time.